Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Famvestor podcast. Today we have a special announcement. Really excited. Actually, it's already Thursday, so it's August 1st when we're recording this at 1 in the morning, which is kind of crazy. And it's been a very spectacularly insane day where we close on our third property today of another 4-family house in the Bergen County area.
That's right.
And just excited to share that news because it's been a long time in coming. You know, we've been under contract with this for like 4 or 5 months, which is crazy.
A really long time, yeah.
Really long. So all 3 of our properties now are in 15 minutes from the New York City area. And we just started, buying real estate 4 years ago, a little less than 4 years ago. So it's kind of incredible the journey we've taken. We first bought our first 4-family in Garfield, New Jersey back in October of 2015. Sunmarie was 6 months on maternity leave at that point with our 6-month-old son. And so we were on one income when we bought that place. And then, you never went back to work. So we've been able to buy a 4-family house, then 2 years later, a 3-family house in North Arlington, and then now another 4-family house, all on one income. So a family of 4, one income to buy all this property. It's $1.75 million in real estate. And we didn't borrow any funds outside of ourselves. And so it's kind of an incredible story. If you guys want to find out more about how we were able to save some of that money for the down payments and things, listen to episode 4 about managing your money with mastery. And then podcast episode 5 is where we kind of share more about our real estate story. And we'll have a future episode about this Lyndhurst as it develops. But it's kind of cool that now we have 11 units. And just that we were able to do in 4 years, and the amount of financial freedom that will enable for us is really cool, and something I'm going to look forward to digging in with all of you later. But definitely start out with episode 5 if you want to hear more of our real estate story. So with that, and the reason we're up so late is we just came back from New York City. So right after closing, we headed to New York City to watch Hamilton, the Broadway play. It was my birthday 4 days ago, so Sunmarie organized between my family and her family to buy us tickets because those tickets are expensive. And
big splurge,
but definitely enjoyed it. And you gotta take some time every once in a while to spoil yourself a little bit and enjoy. So definitely enjoyed that night out, just the 2 of us.
It was nice. Very nice.
It was a good time. We vlogged it, so if you're a subscriber to the YouTube channel, you can see our vlog of that and the whole journey of closing today with our checks and my fancy car, making one of those fancy promo videos. So definitely tune into that. And I don't have a fancy car. My car still has roll-up windows. But $1.75 million in real estate, and I have a car with roll-up windows. Well, that is the reason why we've been able to do that. We have optimized our life to gear towards freedom, not necessarily materialistic possessions. Anyway, that's enough about that. We have a great show for you guys today, so we're going to get right into that. So today we have a very special guest. He's actually been our family chiropractor for the last 4 or 5 years. And, he is a wealth of knowledge. We go to him from anything from just health, fitness, wellness. Any question we might have relating to our kids and anything they're going through, we usually ping him with an email, and he knows, he's a constant learner. He tells us in his story, he's just always developing himself, always seeking new knowledge, and always keeping up with the best practices.
Right. This episode has a lot of great tips for parents and children regarding chiropractic care, whole health benefits, whole health care, and just things for the common problems, colic and insomnia and pains and muscle aches and all sorts of things, as well as diet and weight loss and just
not just
healthy
kids,
living.
But just healthy living as adults, as parents, as mothers who are pregnant. We go through the whole gamut here on this episode, and just a lot of great tips thrown out throughout. He kind of shares his story of being a little less fit, starting out at 260 pounds in the high school and then dropping down now to a healthy 175 pounds, so almost 100 pounds lost. And just his tips for, losing weight and leading a healthy life, and how he schedules, fitness into his work life.
Right.
And how he's creating kind of a life of freedom and intentionally developing his practice where he only works 3 days a week. And in those 3 days, he incorporates 2 hours of time for him to work out and keep his fitness goals and keep himself energized through that.
We also get into how he keeps the work-life balance between his flourishing practice as well as time spent with family to keep that enriched, and also other passive income endeavors he delves into with real estate and some of his ventures. He's writing a book that sounds really cutting edge. And so we touch on all these great topics, including how to keep yourself fit as a dad in a busy lifestyle while you're working, caring for a family, and still trying to take care of your own health, to not let it go.
Right. He has 2 kids and, just so much to maintain, but still he's keeping it all together, working on those priorities, and we just exciting to dive in with him. He has a practice in Clifton, New Jersey, so if you're a local, I definitely recommend him. He's one of 2 doctors I recommend, so definitely excited to dive in deep with him. So without further ado, let's get to the show.
You're listening to the Famvestor Podcast. If you're looking to raise your family with intention, gain financial independence, and live a life of true freedom, you're in the right place. Join us as we explore together how to create thriving families, because strong families are the cornerstone for a world at peace.
Welcome back, everyone. Today we have Dr. Peter Scordilis, who graduated from Rutgers University and Palmer College of Chiropractic. He is here today to kind of teach us or share with us his passion for health and performance in the area of chiropractor and just living a healthy family lifestyle. We're also going to dig into his kind of financial journey and just his upbringing and how to kind of live our best healthy lives. And, Dr. Peter has been our chiropractor for the last 4 or 5 years, and he's helped us do a number of things, including my own sports issues. He runs triathalons, coaches teams through triathalons, and just an overall really cool, accomplished guy who's leading an awesome life, taking care of his fitness, taking care of his family, and running an awesome business all the while. I'm really excited to dive deep in with him. I'm sure he's going to share with us awesome tips on how to kind of raise our families with a healthy outlook. Also excited, he's writing a book right now on pre and postnatal care for moms to minimize injuries and maximize health. And that's kind of how our relationships got started. Back in 2015, when we first had our son, Sunri, you had a breech baby, right, which pretty much just means the head is...
the baby's upside down.
The baby's upside down.
Which is problematic during birth. And
right.
So we wanted to try to find a way to encourage the baby to turn around, and we found out chiropractic care can actually assist with that, one of the many things that it can assist you with in your life. And so that started our chiropractic journey.
Right. And so I'm excited to welcome Dr. Peter to the show. Peter, welcome to the show.
Thanks, guys. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so glad you made the time for us. And so let's just get started with kind of how you got into, this alternative medicine or chiropracticism.
What is the proper way to phrase
chiropractic? Yeah, chiropractic is the easiest way. Yeah.
Right.
So a lot of people struggle with that one.
Were you always did you grow up in a very healthy family environment? And how did you get into this?
Sure. So interestingly enough, my dad is also a chiropractor. So when we were kids, a pretty healthy lifestyle. I'd say my parents were actually pescatarians before anybody really knew what a pescatarian was. More for health reasons than anything else.
What is a pescatarian?
So they ate fish and that was it. No other meat, no other chicken for quite a long time.
And that's how you grew up too?
Earlier on, we started like that, and then they introduced meat back in, but always on their minds was health. I mean, I was the kid with the blue skim milk cartons, no chocolate milk for me. We had whole grain bread before it was actually soft, when it basically tasted like cardboard, and I had carrot sticks instead of fruit snacks. So that was kind of my early on. And my parents knew because my dad's family does have obesity and heart disease in it. So we knew we always wanted to be healthy. But even still, I still was, I was about 260 pounds in high school.
Wow.
I played football. I was a bigger guy. I was athletic, but I wouldn't say I was the most athletic person. And kind of, went through that. I went vegetarian myself for a while. Did that for about a year and a half, 2 years. And then I got to chiropractic school, and I got to tell you, it was like an explosion of health. Like everybody around me was healthy. I was learning so much about nutrition and fitness and really how to live a healthy lifestyle and how, you can really change your body. I mean, completely. And I share that story with my patients all the time is I changed my body completely. I was somebody who hated to run, and I run marathons now. Like I said, I was 260 pounds. I entered chiropractic school at about 220, and now I'm about 175 to 180 pounds.
Wow. 100, almost 100 pounds less.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And so you can do it. I mean, you can really change your life, and that's really led me into where I am today with my practice. I treat a lot of athletes. I have a ton of pregnant pre and postnatal patients, which is awesome because I get to see the moms and then I get to see their kids, like your kids, which is fantastic for me. And I get to help them through that process to really find their health. And, new moms especially are dealing with so much. They don't really need to start behind the 8 ball. They got to start with a clean slate. They have maybe 1 or 2 kids to handle. They're dealing with breastfeeding and helping the children out. Who knows if they're working as well, which is really, really difficult. So we try to put them out, give them a leg up and really have them start off not just with a clean slate, but ahead of the game.
Amazing.
Yeah, awesome. And I think that's really what I appreciate so much, entering your practice and seeing you, you seem to really be well put together and, you're practicing what you're preaching, living a healthy lifestyle and, treating your patients, treating us. And you always had all this wholesome, holistic advice for us to take. You weren't leading us to, the easiest option. You were working with us to really do the best wholesome option that was going to create a
true
lasting
healing, not just symptomatic relief.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I appreciate so much. And, growing up with your dad as a chiropractor, did you was that like almost a turn off or a turn on for you into entering the chiropractic practice?
So that was an interesting path. I mean, chiropractic helped me so much as a young athlete. Football days really helped keep me healthy. Did martial arts since I was about 9 years old. So, I mean, plenty of injuries and things that it helped me with and staying healthy through the years. I originally actually in college wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon. I followed one around. If you've ever been in orthopedic surgery, it's amazing. These guys do amazing things, but it's like working on a car. Lots of sawing, lots of cutting, lots of chipping, lots of screwing. So I after seeing that, I kind of said to myself, I really want to get people before that happens and try to avoid that. I mean, and believe me, surgeries are necessary at times. I work with a lot of great surgeons who actually send me their patients for rehab, but I wanted to get people before they needed that and really try to help them avoid those invasive procedures. And that's kind of where I ended up. And believe me, I've been super happy with it and really happy with how I can help people with their health.
Interesting.
And so do you recommend chiropractic care just for people who are in pain, or is this just general routine health procedure to get done?
So we treat our chiropractic practice as a whole body wellness center, and we're not just doing the adjustment, which is the main thing people think of when they think about going to the chiropractor, the manipulation, the adjustment, which is a part of what we do. But again, that's where we get a lot of our people, and they come in because, I hurt my back or these other problems. The nice thing about how we built our practice now, though, is I get people that come in and ask me advice on everything. I mean, I have patients bringing me their blood work after they've seen their primary care doctor and say, what do I do with this? Where am I supposed to go? This is what the doctor told me. What do you think? And that's where I always want it to be is someone who's an authority and who can give you advice that's going to put you on a more holistic path to health, as opposed to just the quick fix, like you said before, or getting rid of the symptom. So yeah, I mean, you need to find a good chiropractor. I think everybody should have one in their Rolodex. I think they can help you through a lot of things and can really help put you on a good path. And I really feel like we're filling that gap in the family physician category, because it seems like with the changes in insurance and everything else, nobody has a family doctor anymore. They have a primary care doctor that they go to whenever they need to, but nobody has that person that knows them for the past 10 years that can say, oh yeah, I remember when you had this, and let's look at this instead because I know you so well. And that's what I've kind of come to be.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I definitely see that in us. I'm always shoot you over an email like, hey, what do you think? When doctor told us we need ear tubes in our son's ears because all these ear infections, and you just came up with a more holistic approach to it, and always shooting you over questions like that. And
Right. It's so valuable. I feel like in today's society, a lot of times we look to the medical model quicker than we consider internal healing and alternative medicine as almost like I feel it should be your first step before you do anything drastic. And I feel like there's a lot lacking in that field in today's modern industry. So it's refreshing to find someone who can be that first gateway for healing.
Yeah, I feel like it's almost, and I hate to use the term, but the fast food mentality is we want a quick fix, and there is no quick fix. I mean, there's no quick fix with your kids. There is no quick fix for a healthy lifestyle. It just doesn't exist. You can't pop one vitamin and think it's going to take the place of feeding your kids a variety of healthy foods, which I impress upon my patients all the time. I say, if you want your kids to not be overweight later, if you don't want them to have metabolic syndrome, which is type 2 diabetes, if you don't want these things to happen, cardiovascular disease, you have to start from a young age. You're not going to feed your kid chicken nuggets the entire time they're growing up and then expect them to all of a sudden want to eat, healthy options and eat vegetables. My kids all do they get the occasional organic mac and cheese? Yeah, they do. But they're eating vegetables every day with every meal. They're eating fruit every day with every meal. We've taught them to enjoy these things, that these things are part of life. And I get a lot of questions from parents, well, my kid won't eat that. Yeah, they will. So you just need to frame it in a way that's good for them, but also you are the parent, and you have to realize that at some point that they may not like to eat something once, but our pediatrician even said it, they have to try it about 17 times before they realize they actually don't like it. So don't give your kid broccoli once and think that they just don't like it and you're never going to try again. There's the easy fix. Well, they don't want that, they want mac and cheese. You need to put the time in. If you put the time in, you're going to get the results you want.
Right. An interesting observation I had with a friend recently who is from Italy, and she was just commenting on the cultural differences of how we approach food in America versus how people approach food in other countries. And she was comparing it to Italy, and she said, most Italian children, they'll eat anything you put on the plate in front of them. Vegetables, you name it. They're not picky about it. They'll eat the sauce you put on their pasta or whatnot. She said if you look at the American food items on the kids' menus, they're all the empty carbs, and some proteins that you get. The chicken nuggets, you have the fries, you have the pizza, you have the hot dog. Pasta. But there's none of the greens and the veggies and all of that thing. And so it's kind of very culturally immersed in our society to think that these are children's foods. Give these to kids because this is what they like and this is what they'll eat, but it's not setting them up for the most healthy lifestyle later on. Right. So that's a very interesting point that you make there.
Right. It's a taste thing too. I've talked to a lot of people also in the food industry. I know a lot of chefs, and you talk to them, and a lot of them are very good at feeding their kids well. You blow their taste buds out. If you're giving them, these high salt, high sugar foods, they don't know what a good strawberry tastes like. They don't know how sweet it can be. They don't know how a tomato can actually taste really sweet. And we are growing tomato plants in the backyard right now. My kids love running out and picking the fresh tomatoes off and eating them, and it's like a treat for them. And I'm not saying you have to grow all your own vegetables, but eating in season helps with that, because we've all tasted that cardboard tomato that has no nutritional value to it. It tastes like styrofoam. Yeah. And eat in season. Try to eat seasonally. Try to eat locally. The food's just going to be better for you. So the more you can do that, the better off your kids are going to be.
Right.
So what do you feel like the food you consume does lead to, different, not habits in your children, but different moods and different behaviors in your children? Like, have you studied that, and have you seen any results from that?
Yeah, that's a tough topic because you're going to see a lot of changes over time. It's not so much immediate, but just to give you some basic examples. I have this one kid, and she's a great athlete. She just actually got voted the best athlete in her entire high school after 4 years. When I first started seeing her about 4 years ago, she was having chronic headaches. She couldn't sleep through the night. She was waking up with night terrors. She had seen every specialist you could possibly think of. chronic achy pain. And I sat down and I talked to her about her diet, and it was fast food and soda, and thinking that Gatorade is a good beverage to be drinking. It's just packed with sugar and food coloring. And we started to take her off all these things. And it's amazing. I actually just saw her last week at the end of her senior year. And she's like, I'm doing fantastic. I've never had better seasons. I'm entering my college career now. She goes, and she's like, thank you for showing me. No one really ever showed me that I could that I shouldn't eat this way. And even talking to her parents, they just said, we just got tired of fighting with her. And we just kind of gave her what she wanted. But that's, as a parent, you can't take that role. You really have to be their guidance, not just, you're not just trying to raise your kids to be respectful and healthy from a mental standpoint. You're also trying to have them be physically healthy. You don't want them to have those physical problems. I always say we really want to, nurture their mind, their body, and then their spirit or their soul. So you got to hit all three of those aspects. If you're not keeping them on track mentally, if you're not keeping them on track, physically, and then if you're not really nurturing their soul or their spirit, to have them be that rounded person. And I got off topic a little bit there, but yeah, I do think overall, I think it's more of it's not an immediate thing. I don't think that sugar rush thing. I mean, you'll see a little bit of that with kids, but I think it's more of over time. You're going to change their inflammation in their body. That's where a lot of the bad foods, they create this chronic inflammation, which can create a lot of conditions. So you really want to just keep them down that healthy path through that. It's going to show you more long-term benefits as opposed to the short-term, everybody says the sugar rush or things like that.
Yeah, no, I definitely see that. When we first got together like 10 years ago, Sunri wasn't really used to drinking so much water. And, I was always carrying around a water bottle. So I got her a water bottle. She started carrying around this water bottle and used to have chronic headaches. And then since then, I'd say like your headaches are, maybe once a month, once every 2 weeks, very, instead of daily almost or every other day, now they're, at least down 90%.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's my norm.
Right.
Anymore.
Right. And I think that was almost
a big
purely just from having water around and drinking that water. And that was the habit of carrying around a water bottle.
Yeah.
100%. And I see that with a lot of the kids too, where parents forget to hydrate them with proper things. It's, my kids drink basically almond milk. They drink coconut water, which they love. They think it's like a treat for them. And then when they do get juice, which is very infrequently, it's juice that we've cut. Cut with water. So but they are constantly drinking, but we found even with when they're sick, instead of giving them Pedialyte, we give them coconut water because the electrolytes are actually just as good. So why are you going to give your kids something like Pedialyte, which has tons of extra sugar in it, has tons of those food dyes for no reason, when coconut water is the perfect replacement?
Right.
Yeah. And I've come to love coconut water.
I tried Pedialyte recently, and it tasted like a melted popsicle to me. I was like,
that's exactly what it tastes like. Yeah.
So I'm curious, like when we were first, we had our first son, I was like, oh, I'm going to keep, sugar away from him for as long as possible. And then, the spouse might have different thoughts. And then you have, grandparents who are constantly trying to spoil them. How did you do it, or how do you deal with that?
Yeah. So that is a tough question, and you're going to get it a lot, and you don't want to. I mean, I remember a story from when I was a kid. My father and my aunt, my godmother, got into a huge fight because she kept trying to give me M&Ms, and my parents did not want us having any candy, and they got into an actual, like, they didn't speak for weeks.
Oh, I believe it.
And it can happen, and I don't necessarily think that that's the best thing to do. I mean, there are times we've gotten upset when we tell them, listen, we don't want them to have this. And I get that. But I also think you can't make it off limits, because that creates a whole separate problem. And then the kid wants it more, and then they become almost like an addiction. And we don't want to really create that. It's forbidden fruit. So we allow them to have a certain amount of things. We try not to keep anything in the house anyway, because it's not really good for you. So to have it around, it's always going to be sitting there tempting you to try to eat that stuff. So we try to keep good snacks. My kids love apricots, dried apricots. So they would do something good, and I'll say, oh, you get a dried apricot, and they're excited. They think it's the best thing in the world, and they're sweet and they taste good. So we try, when we're home, to control it. When you're out, you do the best you can, but I don't feel like you can make it forbidden fruit. You really need to and you got to tell them you help them make the right choices too. Like, my kids will not make the choice for the kids menu most of the time. They're going to make the choice to have a real meal, because that's what they're used to eating.
No, that's awesome.
Amazing. How old are your kids?
So my oldest is going to be 5 in September, and my youngest is 2.5. So very close to you guys.
Yeah,
Right,
very
4
close.
and 2. So
Yeah.
And
Amazing.
sorry, we probably should have elaborated a little more. Where is your practice, in case people are liking what you're saying?
Oh, so my practice is in Clifton, New Jersey, so very close to Manhattan, just about 15 minutes outside New York City. So you're right there. We're focused on one practice right now. We were at one point we had 3 practices, but I personally really like to focus on my patients. I felt like I couldn't give all my patients 100%, being pulled 3 different directions. So for me, that one location is much better. I'm able to do much more, and honestly, from really. For this podcast, I get to spend more time with my kids, which I really think is super important.
Right.
I think that work-life balance is great. I mean, right now I work 3 long days a week, but I get 5 days a week to really spend with my kids, which is pretty awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, no, that's awesome how you designed that lifestyle. And I'm excited to dig in. But before we do, I did have a question just on allergies because,
Sure.
I don't know, maybe you can answer it. But I feel like, growing up, maybe one kid per class had this peanut allergy. But now I feel like you go to a class, and you were a teacher, Son Marie, and I feel like you're not even allowed to bring in food anymore without like giving a waiver from every single parent.
Seems
and it's
to be
just
a
such an
much more
ordeal.
serious
Every other kid now has
issue.
some kind of allergy, either to nuts or to fruit or to water. It just seems so crazy now. And I feel like, in my personal opinion, just, a lot of these parents bring home these kids in like these hermetically sealed bedrooms, keep
Yep.
them there for 6 months, don't try any foods with them. And then, they're like aliens to this outside world because they've just been so sterilized. What are your thoughts? I don't know how much you want to get into it as a doctor.
Yeah, so it's a very broad topic. There's a couple things at play there. The one big thing is if you talk to any pediatrician now, they are recommending introducing nuts earlier on, and they do. There has been some research done on it, and they feel that some of the peanut allergies have been created by the restricting nuts and not introducing them early enough on. And that being said, when you do it, you need to introduce it in a safe place where if you do have a reaction, that you can get the child to the hospital immediately. Or have some children's Benadryl on hand just in case. But all the doctors now, they're recommending early, as if they have no other reactions to any other foods, as early as 6 months, introducing nut butters. So they are aware that they've created part of that problem by not having introduction. That being said, there will still be children with nut allergies, but I agree. I think the numbers will go down. I also feel that chronic inflammation is a huge part of it, because what an allergy is it's an overreaction to a non-toxic stimulus. So for a prime example of it is poison ivy. There are people who can grab poison ivy and not have a reaction because the poison ivy itself is not actually chemically harmful to you. It's just an oil that you're allergic to. So same thing with the nuts. It's an oil that you're allergic to. It's not actually harmful to the body. So as long as you don't have that reaction, it won't happen. So the chronic inflammatory response, which is what happens when we eat these terrible foods, processed foods, bad oils, there is an argument to even some of the grains, especially white grains, white sugars, that increase this inflammation, and that can create that inflammatory response, which can lead to eventually your body attacking itself. I mean, we can go down the rabbit hole of leaky gut, but I think it's way outside the scope of this right now. I think we'll be talking for a while. But that being said, I do recommend you put your kids on a probiotic. I think it's a great thing to be on, or just eat a bunch of fermented foods. So kimchi, Greek yogurt, those types of things sauerkraut. That's really great for developing their microbiome of their intestines, which the biggest part of your immune system is actually your gut. Your gut is the largest part of your immune system. So if your gut's not functioning correctly, it will actually destroy your immune system and create hyperreactions or underreactions, and it won't work correctly.
Interesting.
Have you ever tried natto?
Natto? No, I have not.
It's fermented soybeans. It's a Japanese.
Oh, yes,
dish.
yes, I have actually. Yep, I just didn't know that it was called.
Did you enjoy it?
Not so much. Kimchi is about as deep as I want to get. I'll do. Kombucha is good, but I think it's too high in sugar personally for myself. I will eat some fermented things, but the fermented soybean is a little too much for me.
Yeah, I agree with you there. It's hard to look at, it's hard to smell, it's hard to eat. But to each his own. You
Right.
can eat it if you like. Just don't eat it with me around.
I like some really funky cheeses, and they're delicious. But I eat all the raw cheeses, and I love them with the live bacteria in there. They're fantastic. And some people can't stand the smell. To each his own.
So I feel like we got a little bit ahead of ourselves. I feel that it would be good to define what chiropractic care is for those who are completely unfamiliar to it or have maybe a misconception that it is strictly for adjusting a back that's out of whack.
Sure.
How do you define chiropractic care in a nutshell?
So interestingly enough, I look at, like I said, chiropractic more as a holistic means of healthcare. The one service of the chiropractor is the chiropractic adjustment, which is the manipulation. And the goal of the manipulation is really to assist in joint movement and really move. We think movement is life. So if your body's not moving correctly, it's going to affect other parts and other systems in your body. So what does that mean? Well, it means if you're not turning your neck correctly, that can cause you to tighten your shoulders up, which can cause your upper back to tighten up, which can cause posture problems, which can cause breathing problems. So it really is this chain reaction of events. So the chiropractic adjustment, that portion of our treatment, is meant to get those joints moving better. Getting those joints moving better is part of the overall picture of what the chiropractor does for the person. Then on top of that, we're going to add exercise and rehabilitation and advice on ergonomics and advice on diet and exercise, really looking to get you functioning at your best. So that's really what a chiropractor should do, is getting your body to function at its best. And we just use these different ways to get there. Sometimes it's the chiropractic adjustment, sometimes it's muscle work, sometimes it's exercise, sometimes it's just, I have several patients that all I really do with them is work on their diet and modifications for them. And that's the way I'm treating them. So I'm working with them more on a lifestyle basis as opposed to the adjustment. Not saying I will never treat them chiropractically, and not to say I haven't treated them chiropractically in the past, but for their current condition, that's the way we're getting there. So I would say the role of a chiropractor has definitely changed since its initial onset. Again, that's a whole nother discussion to have, but I think the good chiropractors these days are not just looking at you as a person with pain. They're looking at you overall and saying, okay, how did the pain get there? Because we need to look at that. What can we do right now to get rid of that pain if you're having pain or whatever that health problem is? And then what do we do now to make sure that doesn't come back or recur? And sometimes it's just as simple as we do what we do to get rid of the pain or rid of the problem, and then look back and say, okay, you're overweight, you're not moving around, your sedentary lifestyle, you're eating, your diet is not really that great. How do we fix those problems so that 6 months from now I'm not seeing you with the exact same thing or something worse or some other problem related to it?
Is there any recommendations you have for these people with sedentary lifestyles, kind of forced into it with a 9-to-5 job where they just sit at a desk at a computer for 8-9 hours a day? That's kind of my position, but luckily I have a stand-up desk. I sit on an exercise ball. Do you have any kind of tips, recommendations for people who are in that lifestyle?
So you just hit the nail on the head with the two big ones, which is the stand-up desk and the ball. The yoga balls are fantastic because it's keeping those muscles active. They're not just at rest. And that's really what happens is they're completely at rest. I'll teach my patients some core strengthening exercises they can actually do at their desks, because a big part of sitting is your core shuts down. And when your core shuts down, that creates a chain reaction of problems where your posture starts to change, the pressure starts to be in different areas. I'll also teach them to do some butt squeezing exercises because your butt muscles are the other ones that turn off your glutes. So if you're not using those glute muscles, then that creates a whole other set of problems. So we'll teach them to do that about every 45 minutes to an hour, just isometrics, just squeeze the muscle and hold and release. Again, it's not an overly, you're not trying to contract to, like I said, you're not trying to break a walnut. You're just trying to engage those muscles. That's number one. The other thing I try to tell them is you really, all the new studies show that you cannot fix a sedentary lifestyle without doing more activity. So if you're sitting all day, you have to find a way to get some activity. Whether it's, on your lunch break, you're going to go walk some stairs, whether it's walking back and forth to the copier. I have a patient who is in the stock market, and he actually keeps a tiny cup on his desk. And everybody makes fun of him for his tiny cup, but he says he keeps it there because every time he finishes it, he gets up, goes to the water cooler, fills it up, and walks back. So it forces him out of his desk. I have patients that set timers on their watch or timers on their phones to let them know to even just get up and walk around their desk a few times. Movement is life. Life is movement. If you're not moving, you're dying. It's really what it comes down to. So you have to find a way to move. And that just needs to be something that works for you. If you have your own office and you can close the door, you can do whatever you want. If you're in a cubicle, people might look at you weird, but you have to do something to get up and move around.
Yeah.
So it sounds to me like chiropractic care has something for everyone, regardless of whether you have a chronic ailment or you're just trying to seek a healthier lifestyle. So I'm curious to know about the age you think is recommended for starting chiropractic care. Can children be adjusted? At what age can that start? And what are some of the benefits for childhood adjustments in chiropractic care?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I've seen children as young as a few days old for certain problems, namely one of them being torticollis. Torticollis is a big one where the baby's neck is turned very, very sharply where they can't turn it back. So we've seen babies with torticollis. They do very, very well. I've had other babies with colic that respond really well. I've had some babies that have breastfeeding difficulties because they can't latch appropriately. And if the problem ends up being with the base of the skull or with the neck, just some light adjustments can get. I mean, I had a patient who was seeing a craniosacral specialist, and not to say anything bad about craniosacral, but saw about 5 or 6 sessions with no benefit. We had her in about 2 sessions. The baby latched appropriately after the second session and breastfed through the rest of the pregnancy with no problem.
So it was spinal related in a way.
Correct. Baby wasn't able to extend the neck fully. So once we were able to get the baby to extend her neck fully, she was able to latch, open the mouth wider. Mother was happier because she wasn't in pain when she was breastfeeding anymore. And the baby was happy because baby was able to breastfeed. So it was pretty awesome. So there really is no age. It's just like anything else. The person, the patient needs to be evaluated as a person. And that's how you're going to find out if this is something that can help them. Overall, I do feel like chiropractic is a benefit in overall health for most people. I do recommend if your kid has a fall or anything that they definitely get checked out. Those are the kind of small things that can snowball into big things later on. I do recommend finding somebody who has experience treating children. And that's not always the case. You're gonna have people who specialize only in back pain, and that's not really somebody who you're gonna say, okay, I'm gonna bring my 3-month-old to go see somebody who specializes in adult back pain. Right. I've had the benefit of being around chiropractic my whole life, but I am a perpetual learner. I don't ever stop with seminars or learning or and not outside my profession. I mean, I've been to seminars with physical therapists, by OBGYNs, by medical doctors, by surgeons. I'm trying to find seeking the knowledge for my patients, because that's my job, is to really seek that knowledge out and give them their best possible outcome going forward. So really the real answer to that is at any age, just finding the right doctor is a good start. And then making sure that they appropriately tell you what's going on and why they're doing what they're doing, and the appropriate trial of care. You don't want to just keep ad nauseum treating somebody when they're not improving. So there are a lot of conditions that have responded to chiropractic that we didn't know if they would respond. And we treated them and they respond really, really well. So I think it's definitely giving it a shot is a great idea, but finding that doctor who's going to say, okay, we're going to treat you for 4 visits and we're going to see if this is actually helping this, or we need 10 visits to see if this is going to help. And I'm going to let you know if I don't feel it's helping, I'm going to get you to somebody else that will help you.
I feel like every single first-time parent I meet says that their baby has colic. What is your response to that? And do you think you can help or have some solutions?
Yeah, so colic is interesting because colic is just a symptom. Colic is that the baby's fussy and won't sleep. The true definition of colic is a certain amount of time that the baby's crying for without being able to get them to calm down in any way. When you're a parent, it doesn't matter. If your baby's crying unendingly, you're not going to sit there and say, okay, it's happening for 20 minutes now. Okay, they have colic. So if your baby's crying incessantly, there's something going on, and you really need to find out why. We've had colicky babies who have digestive issues. We've had colicky babies that are just uncomfortable, and they respond really well to the chiropractic adjustment. Interestingly enough, some of my digestive colicky babies were just really backed up. We've adjusted their sacrums lately. I've had babies just have complete bowel movements in my hand as I'm adjusting them. And then that night they sleep the whole night. So there's a lot of things. Flaxseed oil is another really great one if the baby's truly constipated, and that's what's causing the colic. They're just very backed up. So there's a lot of things out there. Colic's a rough one. Again, finding a good practitioner, whether it's you're speaking to your chiropractor first, if they do deal with pediatrics, definitely talk to your pediatrician. But make sure whoever you're talking to is giving you advice. I get a lot of parents who come to see me and they say, oh yeah, I saw the pediatrician. They kind of blew me off. Or said, you just have to deal with it. That's never really the answer. There's always an answer. Just you have to get those trusted people that you can sit with, and they're going to give you some avenue to go on, or they're going to get you to somebody who can give you an avenue to go down to help that baby or that patient get better, or if it's your problem, help you get better.
Right, that's awesome. Yeah, I feel like that's why I really appreciate you. You know, I feel like you're one of 2 doctors that I actually really trust. I don't trust doctors typically. But yeah, you spend the time, you've done the research, you said, you're a lifelong learner, you want to learn about all these things, the best practices. And yeah, I just love that you share intimately all your knowledge and the best ways to kind of get on a good path.
I'm curious about childhood insomnia or sleep apnea, because that's another big issue that parents deal with their children, is trouble sleeping or night terrors or sleepwalking. And I've heard that chiropractic care can assist with that in some cases. How does chiropractic care relate to sleeping issues in children and adults? And what do you suggest for that kind of a issue?
Sure. Yeah. These issues, a lot of them they're what we call multifactorial. They're not usually one thing that's causing it. So that's where the diagnosis really comes into it, is finding out why is this happening. I mean, sleeping issues in adults could just be that they're uncomfortable when they're sleeping, or it could be true sleep apnea. I mean, true sleep apnea, most of those people need to lose weight. Their diets are usually terrible. They have difficulty breathing. They have breathing problems. So a lot of the work I do with my patients is teaching them how to breathe properly using their diaphragm. And a lot of times we see a lot of sleeping problems go away with that. So really with a lot of these problems, it's getting your diagnosis correct, finding the person who's going to find out why is this happening, and not just putting a Band-Aid on it. Sleep apnea masks are great for the interim. If they have sleep apnea, these are typically adults, but it's not long-term. It's not really going to be a solution. You're just not going to sleep with a mask for the rest of your life. Most of my patients who I can get them to lose weight who have sleep apnea masks don't eventually need their sleep apnea masks, which is pretty awesome.
Wow.
Joel, good.
Sorry, I was just going to ask, you lost almost 100 pounds. How do you recommend to your patients, to lose, generically, if you were to say, what's your generic advice for losing, a significant amount of weight?
Sure. I mean, everybody always hears it will take in less than you put out. So basically, if you're exercising and you're eating less calories, and that works for most people. Eating healthy, of course, is a big part of it. The easy way is stay to the outside of the supermarket. Don't go to the inside aisles. If you stay to the outside, what are you hitting? The fruits, the vegetables, the eggs, the proteins. I mean, you're hitting all the good stuff. If you keep with that, you're going to do much better. Divide your plate up. Your plate should really be mostly fruits and vegetables. Most people don't have that. Most people have a ton of grains, a ton of rice or pasta or whatever else, some fats, maybe some decent proteins, and then usually a little tiny bit of veggies on that plate, which doesn't work. I tell everybody vegetables and fruits are nutrient dense, and they're low in calories. Most of your other foods, especially like your breads, are very, very high in calories and very low in the nutrients that they're giving you. So you want to eat a lot of those nutrient dense foods. So good luck. Go try to eat 2,000 calories of broccoli and see how you feel. But you're gonna have more calcium than you would ever need. So these are the things that you're getting. You're getting the good stuff out of there. So you really need your fruits and your vegetables need to be the priority. Your good proteins. Try to eat your grass fed. And when I say grass fed, the reason I'm saying grass fed is the fat profile of a grass fed meat is much, much better than a grain-fed meat. You're going to get your better fats. You're going to get more of your omega-6s in there, less of your omega-3s. Omega-6s are your pro-inflammatory fats, whereas your omega-3s are your anti-inflammatory fats. So that's a huge part of it. A lot of people ask me the questions about do I eat cage-free, grass-fed, free range? And these are all terms that a lot of them are marketing. So you got to be a little careful. You got to really know. All natural is my favorite. All natural means nothing. If you see all natural on something, they're just trying to market it to people. It really doesn't matter. Cage-free is just that the chicken has a better lifestyle. It's cage-free. It's outside of the cage, free range, kind of the same thing. Grass-fed is really how they're feeding it, what they're feeding it, and then your organic is much more monitored. So you're going to get USDA sealed, has to be organic by the USDA. So you want to follow that along as well. And I know I've gotten a little off topic here. So generic weight loss advice is really eating healthy foods will get you there. If you are eating healthy foods and not overeating, and you're exercising and you're not losing weight, then you need to delve further. And that's where blood work comes in, and really evaluating, is there an underlying condition that's not allowing you to lose weight? Whether it's a thyroid condition or adrenal condition or any number of these conditions that could really be affected.
Okay. There's a lot more I want to dig into, but I just want to ask, what do you think? I mean, it's kind of like a craze now of low carb diets and maybe intermittent fasting. Just real quick.
So, yeah, I mean, they're not for everybody. Like my wife's an example of that. My wife cannot do intermittent fasting. It does not work for her. Blood sugar crashes like crazy. We've tried all different ways to do it. Even with higher fats, it just doesn't work for her. I think intermittent fasting done the right way for certain people is great. It's hard to do on your own because if you're not doing well with it, it can really kind of send you off the deep end and make you get really stressed out and think nothing's going to work. So I don't think keto is a sustainable lifestyle. I think keto for short periods for certain people works really well, but again, it should be monitored by somebody. I don't think everyone should do it on their own. And if you're doing keto and you're not actually dipsticking your urine and checking to see if you're in ketosis, you're kind of faking yourself out, and you really shouldn't do it that way. I personally have done a low grain diet or a no grain diet where I went with higher fat content, good fats, of course, not garbage fats, good fats, proteins, and only fruits and vegetables. I don't believe in cutting fruits out. Will I cut some of my high sugar fruits out sometimes, like my mangoes, my pineapples, my bananas when I'm doing certain programs? Absolutely. But I do not think that you should ever cut your fruits out completely. I think that's completely incorrect. Mm-hmm. So I did really well on that. It's called the Maffetone method. It's meant specifically for training, and I did it for training for a race. And I, without trying to, I lost about 12 pounds. My body fat went down to like a 5.5%, which if people know about body fat, 5.5% is pretty much on the low end. And when I did have sugar, I had some ice cream one night. I felt like I was floating, and then I had a severe sugar crash right after. So it was pretty amazing because I had done that for about 6 weeks, and that really teaches your body how to go over into burning fat over carbs, because that's really what you're trying to do in those programs. Is you're trying to teach your body how to burn fat better. Fat has more calories, more calories to it, so it can burn longer. It can burn, and it burns more efficiently. Whereas carbohydrates, grains, and sugars are going to burn quickly, and they're going to burn out quickly. Fat has a purpose. If you had to store all of your energy as carbohydrate, you'd weigh 40 times what you currently weigh. So fat is a great storage molecule. The reason people gain weight and get fat is because when they've taken too many of the carbs from sugars and the low glycemic, high glycemic index foods, what happens is that those carbs need to then be packed away and stored for use, and that's where the fat cells get created, and that's why you put on fat. So it's definitely, I think weight loss is a very tough thing. It is very individualized. I think you really do need a good coach, a good mentor to really guide you through it. If you're not losing weight under generic steps, if you're not finding a way to do it by just eating healthy and just exercising more than you take it.
Okay. Cool. Okay, so I did want to move on. You kind of shared with us how you kind of intentionally designed your practice to be a little more time freeing and creating some time freedom so you can spend with your family. And you had said that you were running 3 practices at once, 3 different locations, and how you downsized to 1. Did you do that with, the birth of your maybe first child? Why did you intentionally design your lifestyle that way? And
yeah, sure. So yes, that's the first answer. I did it after my daughter was born. It really, I was seeing myself doing a lot. It was great to have these 3 practices, but then I kind of felt like I was doing it, I don't want to say, but almost like an ego thing. Like I needed to have these 3 practices running when I felt I could really devote myself to my patients in one practice. And then also very important to me is be able to spend time with my kids. And, I always remember my dad designing the practice in a way where he could be off at least one day a week to be able to see us, as opposed to, working crazy hours and not being at any of our games or not being able to go to any of our practices. And that always meant a lot to me. We'd always my dad's also in martial arts, so we'd always go to classes together, which, really looking back on it was super special. Mm-hmm. I don't think as a kid you realize at the time how special it is, but now thinking back on it, you realize how important that is. And I wanted to be able to give that to my kids. Mm-hmm. So I designed my practice in a way where I'm very busy when I'm there, which is perfectly fine with me. And then on the days that I'm not there, I can do most of my work that I have to do from home, any paperwork or any of the busy work, so to speak. And I get to spend a lot more time with my kids.
And how was that? Because I see your current practice, and it's so packed. There's
it's flourishing.
Yeah. Always people in there. Was it hard for you, like financially? I'm sure 3 practices is a lot more money. Was that a hard decision to make? And yeah.
Interestingly enough, I feel like stepping back from the other practices made my current practice do even better.
Okay.
I was much more focused. I was much more able to give patients what they needed. And I get to the point where my practice now is on a waiting list, where I have patients waiting, sometimes 2 weeks to see me, because if they want to get in as a new patient, sometimes longer. We brought an associate in now who can see patients if they're not able to see me to start, which is always great. And then I still have my dad there as well practicing with me, which is pretty cool. And now we also have my sister in, who's an acupuncturist. So we have a nice group of people there that can really give the patients what they need and really kind of help them through their health journey. And I've been able to really not take too much of a step back with my income, which was really nice. I'm able to really focus on the patients that are coming through my door, as opposed to feeling totally spread thin. And then we've actually talked before about it, but I started taking extra funds and moving them more towards the real estate side of things, so that I have another passive stream of income. So that I'm not. So I didn't really feel the loss from those other 2 practices.
Very smart. Very smart. So when you're not working, how do you like to spend your time?
I love to spend my time with my kids and my wife. I mean, that's a big part of my life. We just recently bought a new house, which is awesome. It has a pool. My kids are spending a ton of time in the pool.
Good summer to have a pool.
Absolutely. And we try to really do a lot of active things. We really don't let them watch TV very much. Not say that we forbid it. We do allow them to watch a movie here and there. And we do, every so often let them watch, they've been watching educational stuff more lately. So now that my daughter's starting to read, so she's been working with some words on the screen, which is helpful for her as well. We try to get outside. I mean, I have a double running stroller, so I go running with them in the stroller.
Mm-hmm.
We'll run to the park. We'll play in the park for a little while, and then we'll run home. So kind of get a little bit of everything in there, a little daddy time, a little play time, a little exercise time for me, which is fantastic. Mm-hmm. That then converts into a bike trailer as well. So I can pop them in there and I can go for a bike ride as well, which is great.
Nice.
We started snowboarding together, my older daughter and myself.
Oh, cool.
At 5?
We started her actually at 3.5.
Hey.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, so she
we
likes
have
it.
Too many concepts. We need to start our son.
It's awesome. I mean, we have a great time. We go together. It's a little, time with me, especially since her sister was born. She definitely craves a little bit of extra alone time. Right. But her sister's going to start snowboarding this coming winter. So we'll see how that all goes together.
Nice.
And that's it. Basically spending time with the family. I mean, right now they're young. We eventually want to really start traveling, but I think we're going to give them a little bit of time because we really want to start traveling to Europe and some other places like my wife and I used to do before we had kids. Yeah. We just want them to be old enough to appreciate everything there, and we think maybe in a couple of years they'll be ready for that kind of stuff.
And remember it, right? When they're this young,
exactly.
They probably won't remember it. My dad tells me so many stories of the places we've been as a kid, and especially my brother. He's like, no, don't remember. My dad's like, how can you not remember? It was Disney World or whatever it was. Just too young.
Yeah, so that's interesting. I feel like, a lot of people, once they start their career, they kind of, put a lot of their effort and focus into it and kind of let everything go on the wayside. How do you kind of maintain that, or what inspires you to maintain that athleticism or active and keeping fit?
And how do you schedule it into your very busy
2 kids,
lifestyle?
you running an active practice.
Sure. So the other thing I've done with my schedule is I've actually blocked out about 2 hours midday where I will get a workout in. So I've
every day, 2 hours.
Of my 3 days that I'm there, correct. So the 3 days that I'm there, but I do start early. I'm there at 7 a.m. on Fridays. I'm there at 8:30 a.m. on the other days, and I work till 7 o'clock at night. Again, that's if everything goes well. If I have patients that are emergencies, sometimes I won't get out of it until 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. So in the 3 days that I am in the practice physically, I have very busy days, like I said, but I do have a 2 hour lunch break that I can either use for working out, which I do a lot of the time, or getting anything done that I need to get during the day. But a lot of times it is working out. Me personally, I feel like I have to work out. If I don't work out, I can feel the difference in my body. I can't be on my best for my patients. I can't be doing what I do every day with them if I'm not at my best. So there's no way I'm giving up on that. And I really do see a difference when I'm not out there working out. I feel more stressed. I feel more tired. It's just, my body doesn't feel as good as it used to. And I've changed my workouts through the years. I used to lift weights more. Now it's mostly running, swimming, and biking because I do triathalons. But I tell my patients, find something you like to do, because if you like to do it, you're going to be more apt to do it. If you hate running, don't make running your exercise. That would make no sense. Why would you do that to yourself? Same thing with eating. If you hate broccoli, find a different vegetable. It's like, find something you like to eat and eat it, and eat a lot of it. You have to find what you like. If you don't find what you like, you're never going to want to do it. And that's how I think I'm able to get it in. I don't actually schedule my workouts like I used to. When I was really training for events, I used to really have a set schedule during my training season and say, this day I'm doing this and this day I'm doing this. I go a lot more by feel now because I'm not as competitive as I was 3 or 4 years ago. I do it more for fitness and fun now. I think when the kids get a little bit older, maybe I'll go a little more hardcore like I used to, but that might be down the road a little bit.
How old are you now?
I just turned 39.
39.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, the big 40 next year, but I don't feel like it. I don't feel like I'm turning 40. So
still 30. Don't even focus on that.
And I'm just curious, what does a 2-hour regimen kind of look like? What happened this week? What was one routine you did?
So I won't work out for the full 2 hours because I do need time to shower and get back to the office and cool down, especially if I'm running hard. It depends on the day. If I'm typically I'll get about 45 minutes on the treadmill because I do have to work out indoors when I'm going back to work. It's kind of tough. I used to do some outdoor workouts. It was very tough to find the time to shower and get back. So I'll either go in. There's no spin classes on, which is great for me. I'll hop in the spin room, hop on the spin bike, and do my own workout. I usually try to get in about 45 minutes to an hour. During those weekly workouts. Weekends, I'll spend a little more time. That's when I can really get out there and go. And I mean, I can go out for a 2 or 3 hour bike ride if I have the time. My long weekend runs are usually an hour to an hour and a half. My swim sessions are usually jammed in during the week, and like I said, that's about a 45-minute swim session when I get those in. And then I also enjoy this stuff. So when I do get a chance to get out and enjoy a bike ride, I really try to go out and have a good time and really unplug. That's my unplugging. I nothing in my ears. I don't listen to anything. I just go out and ride, be with myself and the trees and wherever I can get for a good couple hours.
That's so awesome. Yeah, I kind of do something similar. Like, today I went for a 2-mile run during my lunch break, and that only takes 15 minutes. So, and luckily I have a shower in my building, so I'll just run around, my work, and then I'll shower off and eat lunch at my desk, and that'll take 30 minutes. Luckily now where I'm employed, they give me 59 minutes twice a week an hour twice a week to just exercise, and I love that. And it doesn't take away any time from the family. I can get it all done during my work routine, and then come home refreshed, like you said. My mind's clear. I got the exercise. I feel better about myself, and that's awesome that you incorporate that into your own schedule that you've built.
Right. So I wanted to ask a question. You're working on a book. That's correct, right?
Yes, I am.
Prenatal care? Is that
prenatal and postnatal care for moms? I did a huge search to try to see, because after seeing all these moms and seeing all these same problems come up, I wanted to see if there was anything out there for them, and I can't find anything that's a comprehensive source where these moms can say, "Hey, listen, I'm having this problem. Where can I go and look for this?" And it just doesn't exist. So I started compiling all my data from all the patients I'm seeing, a lot of information on breech, which is something that you had talked about and we helped you with.
Yeah.
So a lot of moms come to us referred by OBs and midwives who have breech babies. And of course, the complication for a breech, a lot of the times they have to have a C-section.
Right.
And that's it's a surgery. You can downplay it all you want, but it's still a surgery, and there are complications at times. So if we can get that baby to turn, and the mother doesn't have to have a surgery, can deliver naturally, I mean, that's phenomenal. So that's one aspect of it, because a lot of them don't get to me till late. Sometimes if they're not coming from an OB or a midwife that I work with, they're getting into their 36, 37, 38th week, and nobody's told them that, hey, chiropractic can help with this.
Right.
So I really want to put a full resource together for moms. There's other problems that come up, like there's something called mommy thumb, which is a swelling of tendons in your thumb. Mm-hmm. Carpal tunnel syndrome is very common in pregnancy. Yep. There's a lot of problems with hips and pubic dysfunction, where women get pubic bone pain. There's a lot of great stretches and exercises and things they can do themselves, not even in the office, that I want to kind of direct people and have them help them.
Right.
And then postpartum, one of the biggest problems we see is something called rectus diastasis. That's where the abdominal muscles separate during pregnancy and they don't knit back together afterwards. And there's a lot of bad information out there on the internet telling women how to do certain exercise programs. And there's a lot of women out there who are listening to possibly personal trainers who tell them to do crunches, which are the worst thing you could possibly do. And we're seeing such great results with our moms who are doing this abdominal strengthening program, and they're knitting their rectus diastasis back together and not having to have a surgery, not having to have future back problems because now their abdominal muscles aren't working correctly. So we really I want to compile, and I'm starting to compile this book, and really put together a full resource for these moms so they have something to do both prenatal and then postnatal care as well.
That is fantastic, because it's true. Every single one of those points you just mentioned, I've experienced every single one of them. You've helped me through all of them. And I know so many other moms. It's just so commonplace to experience these kind of complications or, resultant effects of being pregnant and then post-pregnancy effects. And like you said, there really isn't much out there. And honestly, I never knew that chiropractic care, physical therapy, that sort of thing can really help you through a lot of those things. With breech, I just thought, well, the baby will turn if it wants to turn, and if it doesn't, well, it doesn't. And I was petrified of the idea of C-section, but didn't think there was anything you could do about it. And then we found out through our adjustments that I have narrow hips and they were really locked up and misaligned, and working on loosening that up and the muscles in there is what freed the baby to have the space to turn. And I would have never known that, and same with a lot of those other issues, like the carpal tunnel in my hands. I thought, oh man, my hands are ruined forever. They'll never work right again. And just like working through the therapies for those things. And even the, what you were just mentioning, and the terms escaping me, the stomach muscles.
Oh, the rectus diastasis, the abdominal muscles. Yeah.
And I've read a lot of conflicting information out on the internet for that about, oh, it's just always going to be like that. You're going to have to live with it. It's the mom pouch. It's just always going to be there, or, you could do some exercises, might help, might not. And I think that such a resource like that would be incredible to get out there.
And this is the first time I'm hearing that you shouldn't do crunches. Why is that so bad? And what would be an appropriate alternative?
Well, for moms, especially with the rectus diastasis, they definitely should not do crunches, because there's first off, the rectus diastasis actually is a separation of the abdominal wall. So it's you have a chance to herniate directly behind it. You're going to herniate abdominal tissue from behind. So you're talking about your intestines, basically. You can have a loop of intestine that can actually push through there. That's awful. So that's number one. Also, crunches in general are really focused on the rectus muscles and not really focused on proper contraction of the core as a whole. And there's been a huge shift in proper use of core muscles. Almost everybody used to teach the belly button to spine. I don't know if you've ever heard that before, but try to suck your belly button to your spine. And I mean, I used to teach it when I first got out of school, and I've done a ton of research and a ton of postgraduate learning, and really it's not the correct way to use your abdominal muscles, and it can create problems into itself. So really proper abdominal contraction is important before you do anything, and most people can't do it correctly. I'd say 90% of the patients that come into my office can't even breathe correctly with their diaphragm, let alone use their abdominal muscles correctly. So I think you really do need to find someone who can help you through this process, and we do a lot of that with our patients. Sometimes day one they'll come in with back pain, and I'm telling them to lay on their back and just breathe for 5 minutes. And they think I'm nuts, but then their back pain starts to feel a little better, and they kind of realize that I know what I'm talking about. But yeah, crunches are really not a great abdominal exercise overall. I mean, can they be part of a routine? Yes, but doing 1,000 crunches a day is not really the way to make a functional core. Will your abdominal muscles, your six-pack look nice? Yeah, probably. But I can't tell you how many bodybuilders I have come in that have beautiful looking six packs, and I put them in a position and I can knock them over with my pinky because they have no core strength.
Yeah, awesome.
Very interesting.
So I know we've touched on a lot of things and we're kind of going along, but I do want to dig in a little bit towards kind of financial independence. I feel like you are passionate in financial independence. Just kind of maybe how you began pursuing. You touched a little bit about real estate, but maybe you can expand a little bit more of what that looks like, and how come you didn't just, keep maxing out maybe 401ks or your self-directed IRA or something.
Sure. Yeah. So, I've always been interested in, again, growing up, my dad was a chiropractor, and my dad always wanted to give us everything when we were kids. And, and I love him for that. And he was a great guy. But he admits that he made, not always the best financial decisions, including some bad real estate deals where he either didn't go in and buy what he should have bought, or he bought something and then got out too early. So he had a few of those. He made some of those mistakes for me, which I really appreciate that he did that. But it made me really start to look at, well, what am I going to do with? And he always said this to me. He said, it's not how much money you make, it's what are you going to do with the money that you do make? And I think that is a huge concept that most people don't get. Most people make that first amount of money and they go out and buy a fancy car or something, something that's going to be a short term, make them happy for the short term, and they don't realize what that can actually do on the long term. Personally, I've always worked. When I was 16 years old, I was working at McDonald's on the grill. I've worked landscaping. I've slung mulch in 105 degrees. I've waited tables. I've worked pretty much everywhere. Retail. I've pretty much worked everywhere you could work. It really made me realize I don't want to be working because I have to for the rest of my life. Now, I love what I do. I said if I won the lottery tomorrow, I would still keep my practice open and I would still see patients because I just love doing it. I wouldn't ever want to stop. But I also want that independence, which I have partially right now with my family, where I can actually say, okay, I want to spend time with my family. And I knew that I was going to make enough money to make my life good now, and make enough money that I could put some away and put it in a place where it's going to make me money for the rest of my life. So I bought my first real estate deal was not great. I bought a condo right out of school in Newark, which is supposed to be the up and coming place. So I lived there for a while and I renovated it. And it's still, I think it's back to being in the black now, finally, after about 15 years.
Wow.
So it was
growth.
Yep. Yeah, it was a rough deal. It was definitely a rough deal. I learned, I took my hits on that one. There were a couple times I had to reach in my own pocket to make things happen for that. But I did, it is rented and I still own it, and it's now in the black. So it's no longer losing money, which is fantastic.
That's good. Great.
But it was a great learning experience, and it made me realize too, I don't really want to be a landlord. It's just, it's not something that fits with my lifestyle and the way I want to work. So I was brought a few real estate deals over the years. I ended up starting with one with a group, and we've since bought 3 properties with that group. I end up owning 5% of each of those 3 properties. And one is an 11 unit with parking. The other 2 are, one's a 4 family and the other one's a 5 family.
Nice.
So I own 5% of those. I literally do nothing, and I get a check at the end of every year, which is phenomenal. And they have some opportunity also. And I should say that I got my initial investment back within the first 3 years.
Wow.
And
wow, awesome.
On the first one, which rolled into the next 2. And now after another 3 years, I'm back up to being whole, where I have that money in cash now, plus owning the 5% interest in the 3 properties.
Wow. And upon sale, would you get like 5% of the profits? Or
correct.
Okay.
Yep. 5% of, I own 5% of the building. So whatever it ends up selling for, if we do sell it, or when it does refinance, then we cash out, we get 5% of the cash out. So it's truly owning 5% of those properties.
Wow.
And they're properties that I never would have been able to, at least the first one, especially the 11 unit. There's no way I would have been able to, in Jersey City, which is a pretty hot market.
Yeah.
And there's no way. And that property has almost doubled in value since we purchased it.
Awesome.
I believe it. Yeah. Jersey City.
Pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my initial start. And then since then, I've had a couple opportunities come across my desk. We have another big one coming up right now, which is actually a development deal. Again, I'm going in with a different group of people. I'm bringing some of my friends along with me for the ride, which is nice. They've never invested in real estate before. So we got together and said, okay, we're going to do this investment. It's not a huge out of pocket. It's where they feel comfortable. Mm-hmm. Again, going in on a group deal, it's going to be a 10-unit condominium that's getting built, and that's going to be a sale. So they're going to be selling those, and then and that's going to be a quick turnaround to roll into another real estate deal. Hopefully, we're looking at like a 16 to 18 month turnaround on that.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah, that's awesome that you could get your full investment back within 3 years time, and then still have stake within the the deal. That sounds
Yeah,
like a
that's
really
great.
cool way to do it.
And these are not, I mean, my first investment deal, I mean, I only bought one share was 5%, and it was a $25,000 investment, which is really not untouchable for people. And that's what a lot of people get very put off by real estate deals when they think, oh, you have to purchase a house, you have to this. There are a lot of, I know crowdfunding got really big now with Fundrise and a couple of these other crowdfunding sites, but there are a lot of local groups that are doing this together. You just got to find people you trust and people who have more knowledge than you. I always try to surround myself with people who have way more knowledge than I do, because I can't know everything. I try my best, but there's no way I'm going to know everything. Right. I try to surround myself with people who know more than I do, and I lean on them as much as I can, because then I learn more, and that's always helped me through the years, really, to get where I want to be.
That's great advice right there too. Just, looking for that intentional network that can help you grow and develop in the areas that you want to know more about and grow in, whether it be real estate or regarding your field of work in chiropractic care or anything really. That's a good tip there.
Okay, so I feel like I really like the lifestyle you're building. There's a lot of intention going into how you're designing it, how you're building your practice, the time slots, what you schedule. I was wondering if you have any tips for the audience, how to craft these habits and start to really incorporate them and stick to them.
Sure. I mean, my two big things that I always tell people is you have to create a habit, and it takes time to create a habit. So, the rule of thumb everybody talks about is the 21 days, right? 21 days to create a habit, which I do agree with. I think that's a good time frame. And I think that the habits get more ingrained the more that you do them. So really, really putting them out there and set yourself to that task and do something that's attainable. If you really think you can do 20 minutes of exercise 4 days a week, set yourself to that. If you think that that's completely insane and there's no way you're going to do that, don't set yourself up to fail, because then you're just going to get more down on yourself and you're not going to get there. So set an attainable goal, whether it could be 10 minutes of exercise 4 days a week. Get that done. Once you get that done, then add a couple minutes to it and add a couple minutes. And then it becomes where it's part of your normal routine and you don't have to think about it. So that's a huge thing. The other thing I'd say is you do have to be flexible. And I tell my patients a lot when they come in and they're like, I have to tell you I didn't do my exercises last week. Like, you're a human. That's just it. You're being a human being. Make your commitments, but also be flexible with yourself. And you can't think that you're going to create lifelong fitness by missing, or lose lifelong fitness by missing one session. The one little plug I have to give is I love my Garmin watch, and I have to tell you guys, if nobody's using a tracking device, you don't have to spend tons of money on them, but they're actually really great to kind of tell you what you're doing. I love when mine says that I've hit my goal of 12 flights of stairs for the day. It's pretty fantastic. Or I hit my goal of 15,000 steps for the day. It's really just that little boost of, just that little bit of boost that you need sometimes, that little pat on the back that sometimes helps you kind of go to that next level. And it does help a bit.
Nice. What are you hoping people get inspired to do when they hear you?
Get out there and move. I mean, that's really my big thing is, like I said before, movement is life and life is movement. If you're not out there moving, you're, was that get busy living or get busy dying? I've heard that quote before. So I really think people need to make the most out of what's going on right now. And if your most is being a fantastic basketball player, that's great. If your most is picking up your grandchild, do that. You got to get out there and do what you need to do, and what you love to do. And I use examples all the time of some of these societies, like Aboriginal societies, where they don't have chairs. And you'll see an 80-year-old, to go to the bathroom, they have to squat. And you'll see an 80-year-old who doesn't have arthritic knees who can squat down and go to the bathroom. Why? Because they have to. So, you really need to think about it, that if you get out there and you're moving and you're doing what your body's supposed to do, it's going to continue to do it for a long time. If you're abusing your body and you're spending 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day sitting in a chair not doing anything, and then you're going home and eating fast food, don't expect your body to do a great job for you. And then I don't care who you go to at that point, after abusing your body for 20, 30, 40 years, nobody's going to be able to fix you, so to speak. You need to put in the work now so that you can reap the benefits later.
Good advice there. Very good advice.
I'm wondering, do you have any books or resources, maybe a quote or some program that you recommend to your patients?
Sure. I mean, there's a lot of great resources out there. Some of them are listed on my website for certain aspects of training and weight loss. The big thing I tell everybody is get somebody that you trust and and get with that person and have them really be your guide. I mean, in every aspect, we really all need coaches. And you've heard everybody from Oprah to Phil Jackson talk about this. It's like, why don't we have coaches for our life and different aspects of our life? I mean, should have a financial coach. You should have a health and wellness lifestyle coach. I mean, some people need just a coach for their everyday lives, just to be positive. You got to find those people and keep them close to your heart and really, really keep them around. Sometimes it's just a family member who can really kind of get you there. So overall, it has to be somebody that fits with you. And that's a very personal thing. So there's a ton of great resources out there in many of these different aspects of your life. Stay away from people who are gurus, who really are who say they have all the answers, because they usually don't. I like a healthy amount of skepticism when you are going into some of these places. Diet programs. If you look at the diet program and it looks like something you can't sustain for your entire life, it probably is. So I just like using the whole keep it healthy, and it's pretty easy to see what's healthy. I mean, walk in the grocery store. What do you think's healthy? A bag of Doritos or broccoli? Well, there you go. There's your answer.
It's simple, right?
Simple, absolutely.
Right.
And before we end the show, one last question. Do you have any advice, you meet a couple with all your background with health, any typical advice that your best advice that you give to a young couple just starting out, or family just starting out?
Yeah, families just starting out is you really have to work it. You cannot just think that everything's going to just fall in your lap, and that goes for every aspect of it. You can't think that finances are just going to figure themselves out. You can't think that your health is just going to kind of magically one day appear. You got to work at it, and you guys got to be on the same page. My wife and I have discussions all the time, especially about health and what we're doing with our kids, and we're on the same page. Every morning we get up, the cups come out, the almond milk goes in with the fish oil, the probiotic, and the vitamin D every morning, whether it's me or her, whoever's doing it. So we're on the same page with what we're doing with our kids, and that's what you have to do. You have to get on the same page, and you have to work it. You have to work at it, no matter what aspect of that of your health or your financial health or your personal growth. You have to work at it.
Awesome. Dr. Peter Scordilis, thank you so much for being on the show. If people want to find out more about you, get in contact with you, you mentioned a website. Can you just share with us where people can reach out to you?
Sure. Our website is NJ, as in New Jersey, njultimatewellness.com. And email address on the website is info@njultimatewellness. And that's pretty much the best way to get in touch with me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show. Can't wait till I get to see you again for my next adjustment and our chats.
Yeah, really
absolutely, guys. Thanks for having me on.
The time.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, see you around.
Bye-bye.
Next time on the Famvestor podcast, we have an exciting episode lined up where we speak with a natural family planning expert and instructor. We know her personally, and she taught a course that we attended, got a lot of valuable information from it, and in this next episode, we delve into her amazing story, her journey, and it's really worthwhile. You should definitely tune in. So join us next week for a wonderful episode on Famvestor with Jill Cherry.
Good luck, guys. Godspeed.